All right, let's do this. Let's dive deep into The Lady of the Mine by Sergei LEBEDEV.
Oh, this book.
Yeah, it's a real page-turner. We're in a Ukrainian town right on the border with Russia,
Border towns. Always interesting.
aren't they? And it's 2025, just a short while after Russia invaded.
So Lebedev really brings the story close to home, huh? Makes you think.
It does. Especially with this mine, Shaft 34. It's not just, a place where people work. It's like its own character. And it's full of, well, bodies from all these different periods of violence.
The mine as a witness to history, that's a powerful image, like some sort of grim time capsule.
Exactly. So we meet our main characters in this setting. Zhanna, she inherits her mother's house, and with it comes this mysterious legacy she has to unravel.
And then there's Valet, her childhood friend, who finds himself fighting for the Russians.
Yeah, what a situation. This deep connection, but now on opposite sides of a war. Talk about complicated.
Oh, it gets even more complicated.
It does.
There's General Korol, a Russian officer totally fixated on Zhanna's mother, Mariana.
Okay, what's the deal with him?
He investigated her 30 years ago and still can't let go of her secrets, even though she's dead.
So that's the big mystery we're going to unpack in this deep dive. What's Mariana's legacy all about? What secrets did she keep? Why is the general so obsessed with her? And now with Zhanna. And what does this mine have to do with everything?
And don't forget, Lebedev throws in hints of the supernatural, the otherworldly. Adds a whole other layer to the story.
It definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. So let's start with Mariana. We know she was part of this, secret group of women. They were known for cleansing. It's described almost like a ritual.
Very mysterious. What are they cleansing? What are they protecting? It draws you in.
For sure. Then there's this guy, the engineer, who actually narrates parts of the story, even though he's dead. He was a Jewish mining engineer, died in the mine.
I love that Lebedev does that. Having him narrate, it's like his voice is rising right out of the mine. And he describes the mine as a stratigraphy of violence.
Stratigraphy of violence, huh?
It refers to the way different layers of rock are deposited over time. He's saying the mine is like that, but with layers of bodies from different periods of violence.
Whoa, that's heavy.
It is. It's like all the suffering the mine has witnessed is embedded in its very structure.
And Zhanna, she's having these really vivid dreams. They seem to connect her mother's past to the mine, and even to this plane that gets shot down near the town.
Are they just dreams, or are they something more? Prophecies, messages from the other side. Lebedev plays with that line so well.
It's unsettling. And speaking of unsettling, Valet, Zhanna's friend who became a soldier, he goes through this really intense change in the novel. He starts as this lovesick kid, but the war just hardens him, turns him into something, well, different.
There's this one scene that stuck with me. He finds a gold tooth, the kind looters would take, but instead of keeping it, he throws it back into the mine.
What do you make of that?
Like he's rejecting that path, the greed and brutality. But at the same time, he's sinking deeper into the darkness.
A real internal struggle. And then he finds this lipstick, Aphrodite Scarlet, amidst the wreckage of the plane. He gives it to Zhanna.
Oh, that lipstick. It's a powerful symbol, isn't it? Their connection, the way he's trying to hold on to her, but also unknowingly drawing her into the violence he's a part of.
It's tragic. And now the general, he's got this fixation on Mariana, suspects she was involved with the mine somehow, maybe even with some kind of secret society.
His obsession with her, it starts to mirror Valet's obsession with Zhanna in a way. These men trying to control and possess these women to unravel their secrets.
It's a disturbing pattern.
Yeah.
And then we have the plane being shot down right near the mine. It's not just an accident. It links the present conflict to all the horrors of the past. Lebedev even uses this metaphor of a zombie.
That's a zombie.
Yeah, to describe the outdated ideologies that are clinging to power through violence. It's like the ghosts of the past are rising up again.
It's like a wound that never healed, and now it's been ripped open.
Yeah, scar ripped open. It's almost like that plane crash. It's like an echo of all the violence that came before. Lebedev really knows how to layer those meanings, make you think.
He does.
And then Zhanna's dreams, they get even more intense after the crash. There's one where she's at the Donetsk airport. It's a real place, destroyed in the 2014 conflict.
Yeah.
But in her dream, it's like pristine.
Wow.
Yeah, almost like a mythical place.
So she's longing for a different reality. Right. An escape from the chaos.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
But then the dream shifts. It turns into this horrifying scene with black coffins, hearses, this massive wrecked airplane. It's like a premonition.
Heavy stuff.
Really heavy. She sees bodies falling from the sky, raining down on her town. The violence, the human cost, it just hits you.
A reminder of how fragile peace can be, how quickly things can change.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm.
We also get more insight into Valet's past in this section. His relationship with his father was tough. His dad was a miner, got crippled in a mine collapse.
Oh, wow.
And then there was this encounter with Mariana, Zhanna's mom. She basically rejected him, told him he wasn't good enough for a daughter. Right. It really messed him up. You can see how those experiences shaped him, gave him this resentment, this hunger for power.
Looking for validation, huh? A way to prove himself.
Yeah. And it shows in how he acts as a soldier. He's drawn to the violence, the control, almost like he's becoming a dark reflection of the general.
Both seeking something in Zhanna, but in a twisted way. Makes you wonder, can love even exist in a place like that? In the middle of so much violence and trauma?
It's a good question. Speaking of the general, we learn more about his past, too. He trained as a mining engineer, believe it or not, but then the KGB recruited him.
Really?
Yeah. And he's haunted by this unsolved case from his past, involving Mariana and the secrets of Shaft 34.
Think he can't let go of it?
Nope. And at one point, he realizes the Soviet Union, it never really disappeared, at least not in this town. It's like this place where the past still has a grip, where he can reclaim the power he thinks he's lost.
It's scary how relevant that feels, even though Lebedev wrote this years ago.
Totally. Okay, we've got to talk more about the engineer and his story. It's just too good to ignore. He describes the mine as a repository of historical trauma. There are bodies down there from every era. Red Army prisoners, victims of the Bolsheviks, people executed during the 1905 revolution. It's like a cycle of violence that never ends.
Ugh, it's just heartbreaking. And the way he describes himself and the others trapped in the mine, he says they're not ghosts, they're fossils, petrified remains of these awful atrocities. Their sufferings become part of the mine itself.
It's hard to even imagine, you know?
I know, but that's what I admire about Lebedev's writing. He doesn't shy away from the darkness, but he also finds these moments of beauty, of something transcendent, even amidst the chaos.
It's a tricky balance.
It is.
Like when the engineer talks about the White Lady, he describes her as this mythical figure, this laundress who cleanses not just clothes, but like the essence of being. He thinks Mariana was connected to her somehow.
A guardian figure trying to hold back the darkness.
Exactly. And he believes the war, the violence unleashed by the zombies, as he calls them, has destroyed the White Lady's power, allowing the darkness to come back.
So is there any hope for this town, for these people? Can they break free from this cycle?
That's the big question hanging over the whole book. Now we get to see Zhanna trying to make sense of everything happening around her. There's a scene where she dreams about Graz, Austria, a city she visited. She's seeing it with new eyes, understanding its history and how conflict has shaped it.
I love how Lebedev draws parallels between Graz, with its hilltop fortress, and Zhanna's hometown, both marked by violence, layers of history, resilience. Like he's saying all places, all people are connected by these shared experiences.
That's deep.
Right.
And in her dream, she's drawn to the city's underground spaces, the tunnels, the shelters, like she's looking for refuge.
Reminds me of the mine, right? Both a place of danger and refuge. It's where Zhanna's father died, but it's also where she feels close to her mother, her legacy.
Such a powerful image. And in the dream, she sees this photo of a naked man falling into a black void. It's the same photo that was in the house she and her mother cleaned.
I remember that photo. It haunts her.
It does. It becomes this recurring symbol in the book. This falling into darkness, being pulled towards something unknown and terrifying.
Pure existential dread.
And then there's the expensive lipstick Zhanna saw in Graz, Aphrodite's Scarlet. She wanted it, but couldn't afford it.
And then Valet gives her that exact lipstick, the one he took from the plane crash victim.
Wow. It's loaded, right? Like a poisoned gift. This beautiful object that represents so much violence and trauma.
Lebedev using everyday things to create that unsettling feeling like nothing is what it seems.
It's masterful. So Zhanna's torn. She knows it's stolen, but she's also drawn to it. She puts it on, goes to meet Valet, feeling transformed.
Powerful.
Yeah. But Valet, he's fighting his own demons, haunted by what he's done in the war.
Trying to convince himself he's on the right side, but the guilt is eating him alive.
Like when he remembers killing those 5 shepherds.
Just awful.
I know. He and his comrades had stolen a lamb, and then when they saw the shepherds again, they were afraid of being recognized, so they just shot them.
Cold-blooded. You see how far he's fallen from the innocent kid he used to be?
It's tragic. And what's worse, he's drawn to the power he has now. He starts imagining himself rising through the ranks, becoming like his uncle, this powerful figure in the Russian military.
Embracing the darkness.
Yeah. And then he compares those shepherds falling into a well to the Jews being thrown into the mine. Chilling.
A direct connection. Violence breeds violence.
It's a cycle. And Lebedev shows how even the good guys can get corrupted, how easily we lose our humanity in conflict. Okay, let's check back in with the general. He's dealing with the fallout from the plane crash. The world is watching. He needs a cover story.
He's a master manipulator, but this is a tough one. The truth is just too big to hide.
Like he's losing his grip, and he keeps getting pulled back to Mariana, the White Lady. He thinks she holds the key to understanding this darkness, this whole conflict.
Chasing a ghost.
He is. And he's getting more and more fixated on Zhanna. Sees her as a reflection of her mother, this symbol of purity he wants to crush.
Light versus darkness. Innocence versus corruption. This can't end well.
Nope, it feels like a ticking time bomb. Now here's one of the most powerful parts. The engineer talking about the people who shot down the plane, the zombies. He calls them relics of a bygone era, clinging to power through violence. He connects them directly to the mine, to all that buried suffering and oppression.
A scathing critique of authoritarianism, how it corrupts and destroys.
And he says they didn't shoot down the plane because of what happened at the mine. Not out of revenge or anything like that.
It's deeper, isn't it? Like a primal urge to dominate, to control, a fear of the other.
Exactly. But he also thinks the mine itself, with all its secrets and violence, creates this, force field where evil can thrive, this dark energy that corrupts everything around it.
Makes you think about all the places where violence has happened, you know? Do they hold on to that energy? Or is it something we carry within us?
Creepy thought. And he believes Mariana, the White Lady, was trying to hold back that darkness, to cleanse the town.
But she lost, didn't she? And now Zhanna is left to face it alone.
With that lipstick, the symbol of temptation.
A devil's trick, leading her down a dark path.
Okay, so we get to this pivotal moment. Zhanna wakes up the morning after seeing Valet, and there's this awful stench of decay, like the darkness is clinging to her.
A visceral reaction, the realization that she's been touched by the violence.
And she looks in the mirror and sees this unnatural smile on her lips. The lipstick, but also something more, like she's wearing a mask.
Hiding her true self.
Exactly. And she can't find the lipstick anywhere. It vanished. She remembers her bag snagged on a shrub when she was walking with Valet. That lost lipstick, it's like a symbol of her own lost innocence.
Like a trail of breadcrumbs leading her deeper into the maze.
And she's drawn back to that spot, but also terrified of what she might find.
A turning point. Which way will she go?
Then she does something really symbolic. She starts washing her mother's sheets. They were stained from her illness, but to Zhanna, they represent so much more.
Her mother's suffering, the darkness.
Exactly. She gathers all the fabrics, lays them out in the sun, like a ritual.
A way to cleanse herself, to face the trauma.
Right. And as she's washing, it hits her. Her mother was a soldier, a guardian fighting against the darkness.
Wow. She's starting to understand her mother's legacy.
And then she remembers her father, who died in the mine. She sees how their lives, their deaths, are all tied to the mine, to the forces shaping her own life.
The pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
They are. She goes into the woods, finds this old digging, a hidden space. It's like a sanctuary for her.
Like those catacombs in Graz, those underground spaces that called to her in her dream. Places of refuge.
Exactly. And that night, she dreams of Graz again, but it's deserted. Everyone's hiding. She's drawn to a military museum, filled with weapons.
A city holding its breath, waiting.
Like a premonition.
Yeah. And then the lights go out, and she sees this underground world, tunnels and shelters where people are hiding.
It's a powerful image. Fear, but also resilience. People finding ways to survive, to resist.
And above, rockets are flying, targeting civilians. Two worlds.
A stark contrast. But even in the darkest times, there's hope, right? People fighting for what they believe in.
And Zhanna realizes she has a role to play in all of this. She's meant to be a healer, a cleanser, bringing light to the darkness.
A moment of self-discovery, but also dangerous.
Lebedev doesn't make it easy. He shows us the beauty and the horror, the hope and the despair, all tangled together.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Is she strong enough to be the new White Lady? I mean, we've seen how dangerous that role can be.
It's a huge burden to carry, but you can feel Zhanna changing. She's not just being swept along by events anymore. She's making choices, taking control. But will it lead to something good, something bad? We don't know yet.
That's the hook, right? It keeps you guessing. Okay, so let's go back to the general. Remember that nightclub, the Paradise, where Valet took Zhanna? We find the general there, holding court, you could say, surrounded by his men, these hardened soldiers. the embodiment of the war's brutality.
Trying to escape the pressure, maybe, the weight of his secrets. But he can't outrun them, not even in a place like that.
No, he can't. And then he sees Zhanna. She's dancing, and it's like she's almost possessed. The red lipstick, the white dress. She looks like some kind of mythical creature,
It's a siren, maybe? Luring him into dangerous waters.
And he's completely captivated. He sees in Zhanna that same mystery that drew him to Mariana all those years ago.
This dangerous attraction, fueled by his need for control and his obsession with uncovering the White Lady's secrets.
And then it hits him. He recognizes her. Not just as Zhanna. He sees her in those old surveillance photos of Mariana.
History repeating itself, this cycle of obsession playing out again.
Makes you think, can anyone break free from the past? Or are we all doomed to repeat the same mistakes?
It's a question that haunts this whole book.
So what does the general do? He orders his men to bring her to him. He wants to possess her, to break her, to force her to tell him the truth about Mariana in the mine.
It's terrifying. The way Lebedev shows us the general's descent into madness, he's so consumed by this need for knowledge, this idea that if he can just unlock the White Lady's secrets, he can somehow control everything.
But it's slipping through his fingers, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more he tries to grasp it, the more it slips away. And Valet, he's watching all this, consumed by jealousy.
His love for Zhanna, it's become so twisted, so possessive. He sees her as his, and he won't let anyone take her from him.
Not even the general. This is about to explode.
It's a powder keg.
The general leaves the club with Zhanna, his men clearing a path for him like he's royalty. They even encountered these drunk soldiers at a roadblock.
Nobody stands up to him. Nobody dares.
He shows you how power works, right? Violence and intimidation, that's how control is maintained.
The general, he represents this whole system, the abuse of power that runs through everything.
And Zhanna, she's silent, like she's accepted her fate. But what's going on in her head? Is she scared? Is she planning something? Lebedev keeps you guessing the whole time.
He lets you draw your own conclusions, fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keeps you thinking. So the general takes her to his apartment. He's filled with this dark desire to control her, to humiliate her, to strip away her innocence and drag her down into the darkness with him.
It's like he's trying to destroy the purity he sees in her because it reminds him of his own corruption. What he can't have, he has to destroy.
It's disturbing, but so well written. You can feel the general's desperation, his twisted logic. And then we come back to the engineer. He's thinking about the history of violence, how it just keeps happening generation after generation.
Yeah.
He talks about the V-2 rockets the Nazis developed.
Those weapons of terror.
Yeah. And he connects them to the current conflict, the way technology just gives us new and more efficient ways to hurt each other.
He sees it as a cycle, right? We keep making the same mistakes, just with different tools.
And the downplaying the innocent people killed. He sees that as a warning. The cycle continues.
We're all connected to the past. The choices we made today have consequences that echo through time.
That's a heavy thought. And then he talks about the lipstick, the Aphrodite Scarlet. He calls it a temptation, a devil's trick.
To lure Zhanna into the darkness.
Right. The engineer, he understands the power of symbols, you know. He sees that lipstick as a way for the darkness to get inside her.
A gateway.
And he thinks Mariana, the White Lady, was trying to protect her daughter from that. But she's gone now. Vanna's on her own.
It's tragic, the sense that the darkness is winning and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
And then the engineer, he talks about the supernatural. Says it's not about ghosts or magic. It's about the weight of the past, the unseen forces that shape our lives. The real horror, he says, is that the past can't be erased.
It's always there, waiting to come back.
And he ends with this image, a deposit of humans, the fossilized remains of all those victims. Like he's saying violence leaves a mark, that it becomes part of us.
It's a chilling reminder of the cost of our cruelty, how it echoes through history.
So we leave Zhanna in the general's clutches. What's going to happen? Will she break? Will she fight back? Will she become the new White Lady, or will she be destroyed like her mother?
Lebedev doesn't give us the answers. He leaves us with those questions, those uncertainties. It's what makes The Lady of the Mind such a powerful book. It stays with you, makes you confront uncomfortable truths about yourself, about humanity, about the world.
If you want a book that will challenge you, make you think, a book that will stay with you long after you finish it, then you need to check out The Lady of the Mind. It's a journey into the darkness, but it's also a story about hope, about resilience.
It's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the complexities of the conflict in Ukraine, but it's also a timeless story about love and loss and the search for meaning in a world that often feels meaningless.
Couldn't have put it better myself. This has been a fascinating deep dive. I really encourage you to seek out The Lady of the Mine and explore it for yourself.